bless the mankind from your own pure behavior. These are the three words which signify various important areas of Islamic teachings. So the point which I want to elaborate firstly is that Islam totally is based on three kinds of teachings. This Iman, Islam and Ihsan. Iman, the word Iman finds its root from Amn. Amn means peace. So according to Islamic teachings, our faith is known as Iman. And Iman literally and technically means to come into peace and to bring others to peace. To be in peace and to provide others with peace. So there may be a difference between various religions and various cultures that how to provide this peace. Modes can be different. But the basic theme, the basic idea, the basic philosophy is one. And is that Iman according to Islam is a fact and reality which is totally based on Amn. Amn means peace and security. So the one who is against peace and security is not possessing the Iman according to Islamic teachings. The second word, as I already explained, is Islam. Islam, this word finds its root in Silm and Salm and Salama. This word Silm means again peace, security, tranquility, protection from all kind of sorrows, griefs and dangers. So again the second word, the practical aspect of Islam is also based on the root idea of peace and security. This lies in its literal meaning, this lies in its technical meaning, and this lies in its practical meanings. The third word, as I have already mentioned, that is Ihsan. Ihsan comes, this word Ihsan comes from Husn. This is a difference, a linguistic difference between English and Arabic. English word is a word. It doesn't comes out from any root. It doesn't emerges from any root. But the beauty of Arabic language is that each and every word in Arabic language which is used comes out from any root. It has a root word. That is known as madda, the matter, original matter, from which it emerges up. So whatever is the meaning of the root word has to be continued throughout in all words which will be taken out of that. So Ihsan is from Husn, and Husn means beauty, excellence and benevolence. Beauty, excellence and benevolence. To be compassionate with others, to be merciful with others, to be generous with others, to be kind with others. So this state of mind is known as Ihsan, and this is accepted as the excellence of Islamic teachings. So to me and to Islamic teachings and to Muslim Ummah, terrorism, hatred, any kind of hatred, what to talk of terrorism, this is something far, far away. I am talking of just hatred and narrow propensities which create distances between the mankind. Any kind of hatred, any kind of jealousy, any kind of negative propensities and negative thoughts, any kind of negative attitude, any kind of coercion, any kind of militancy, any kind of extremism, any kind of fanaticism, and any kind of militancy and any kind of terrorism. All these acts and these ways of thinking and these behaviors, they do not find any place in Islam anywhere. Now, closing this point, this is a sufficient thing. I wanted this much to explain on this subject. Now we are proceeding further. The question is that why it is said that there are some terrorists in Muslim Ummah. Among the Muslims there are some. So I would try to explain the thing to me and to Islam. Terrorism and a terrorist has no religion. A terrorist is neither a Muslim nor a Jew nor a Christian. Terrorist has no religion. Terrorism does not believe in any religion. Militancy, fanaticism and extremism does not believe in any religion. Now one can say, then what is this? I would say terrorism, extremism, fanaticism, terrorism and militancy, the four words. This itself has become a religion. This itself is a religion. This itself is a culture. This itself is an independent behavior, anti-mankind, anti-humanity behavior. This doesn't believe in divinely revealed religions. Islam does not accept these kind of people to be Muslims. Quran does not declare them to be Muslims. All those people who are enemy of mankind, irrespective of their creed, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their culture, irrespective of their race, irrespective of their territory, part of world where they live in, irrespective of their society and language. Any person who is performing any act of militancy, terrorism, harassment against mankind, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims, doesn't matter, against mankind, to Islam, these people are never regarded as Muslims. Their punishment is capital punishment in Islam and Quran. Their punishment is capital punishment. So this is another interesting subject which our brother might think afterwards, that we believe in killing the killers of mankind, but the Western world doesn't believe in killing the killers of mankind. They are removing and eliminating the capital punishments. And they say the capital punishment is a barbarianism. It is not acceptable to modern sophisticated society. Islam still says that sophistication is for the men. Sophistication is for human beings. Those who are the militants and killers of mankind, they don't deserve any kind of kindness and sophistication. So the killers of mankind should be given capital punishment and they should be killed and eliminated from the surface of earth. This is the solution which Islam has suggested. Now comes another point which you should think over, and that is that why these kind of acts are taking place. To me, just legislation is not the solution to the problem. I think our brothers might be knowing, I have been an MP in Pakistan Parliament. I was an MP, a sitting MP in the same existing Parliament. but I resigned a couple of months before from the parliament, and first ever resignation from the seat of parliament in history of Pakistan. This is the first resignation. The first resignation from the parliament that was submitted by our father of nation, Quaid-e-Azam, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, before partition, before Pakistan came into existence. He protested against a wrong kind of law, discriminatory law, which was passed in the parliament of that time, Indian parliament. And Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, in protest, he resigned from the seat. It took place in 1940s. It was before Pakistan was made. And after that, this was the second Indian, you can say according to Pakistan, second resignation or the first resignation in our history of Pakistan which was submitted. So, and being a professor of law, so in my profession I have been a solicitor, I have been a lawyer, and I have been a professor of law, and particularly the professor of legislation. And I have been teaching the classes of masters in law, LLM classes. So, just being a student of law now, I will try to suggest that the legislation and framing the laws are not a solution to the question of terrorism. If we want just eyewash, then this is okay. It should be done and should be carried on. This is just an activity. It may be a political activity, it may be a legislative activity, a parliamentary activity, whatever it may be. But if we are serious in eliminating the terrorism, the only solution to me and to any man of ordinary prudence and any man of just thinking and impartial thinking, honest thinking, would be